How do you verify the documents that you receive?
Goodness, well, every single thing I print has to be verified. If not, then I'm in danger of being taken to court, aren't I, and exposed as a libelous publication. So, you know, I have to take that every time. You know, I'm just me. I have my own resources. Every time I print something, I take that risk on my head. You know, my house, my family. I have to take that risk. So, you know, if I'm wrong, take me to court, because there's no one who's more concerned about getting things right than me.
Reported that the then Prime Minister, Tun Mahathir, had an interview with Sarawak Report.
Yes.
Could you tell us what was discussed?
Well, I reported it first, of course. It was quite a coup. In fact, I was so surprised I got the interview that I forgot to take a photograph. And I left the interview and I suddenly realised I hadn't taken a photograph of me and Mahathir, so I had to ask permission from his staff, and I had to wait for an hour and a half to be allowed to get back in and quickly take a photograph. Most of the interview was taken up by me asking about the situation in Sarawak, because he had actually started to make some statements that showed that he was concerned about the dam building program in Sarawak, which is obviously my big fundamental issue, you know. So I probably bored him for the best part of my allocated time with questions about Sarawak's environmental issues. And I was heartened that he was being a lot more flexible on those matters than he had been when he was in power. And indeed, the following week, he went back to Sarawak to and talked about the alternative microdam technology that could bring power badly needed by local isolated communities, you know, which is what supposedly this whole dam building exercise about. So he, you know, so that was what I talked about. And then, of course, I took my opportunity towards the end of the interview to ask him about 1MDB. And he came up with a couple of good quotes, which I immediately rushed off and used.
The 1MDB scandal is really complex. So in very simple terms, based on what Sarawak Report has exposed, could you tell us what for sure we know happened?
Yes, I hate saying things are complicated, because it's the job of a journalist to say that are really simple. So to simplify the 1MDB problem, I think what you see is an intent from the very beginning. It was presented as a wonderful vehicle to bring development to Malaysia, and it was presented as a vehicle for bringing Arab money to invest in Malaysia to bring Malaysian jobs. But there was a separate intention, and the separate intention was actually to suck money secretly out of the Malaysian public funds and into the hierarchy of Malaysia, who felt they needed more money in order primarily to keep control, and as we've also seen, to furnish the lifestyles to which they think they should become accustomed. So no money from the Arab countries has gone into Malaysia through 1MDB, but a number of so-called joint ventures with supposed Arab countries have acted as a fig leaf for ventures that enabled the finance minister to borrow billions of dollars, much of which has gone missing. And that's where it gets complicated, smoke and mirrors, you know, how did the money get missing? It's quite simple if you don't have to have proper transparency in your accounts. If you can write in your accounts things like, we raised 3 billion and 1.4 billion of it actually we didn't spend on the project, we raised it for, we spent it on repayments and running costs. No more details. If you can get away with that level of transparency, it's easy to make money disappear. So that's simply how 1MDB has lost everybody's money. You know, it's just not delivered its accounts in a proper fashion, and it's got away with it because, you know, the way Malaysia's run, you can't complain about these things.
So if Prime Minister Najib were to grant you one honest answer, what would be the first question that you would ask him?
Who does Good Star belong to? Because 1MDB has said that it belonged to PetroSaudi. PetroSaudi has said it's belonged to PetroSaudi. but all the documents and all the evidence show that it belonged to Joe Lowe, single shareholder. What has Najib got to say to that?
So that would be
My first question, because it's a simple one, isn't it?
So Prime Minister Najib has once asked white people to stop meddling in internal affairs, and a lot of your work had centered in Malaysia. What is that special attachment that you have towards Malaysia?
Well, if Najib is going to ask white people to stop meddling in Malaysian affairs, perhaps he should sack the white person who's running his press office and communications office. Because if he can have a white press officer, then why not have a white journalist countering some of the stuff that's untrue that comes out of that press office? I was born in Sarawak, so I care about the issues. We live in a world where people move and travel, and if you come to Britain or go to America, there are people of all origins doing great work and finding roles. So this has to work both ways, doesn't it? We invite people into our societies on grounds of merit, and so that should be. And likewise in our global world, Najib really can't complain if somebody wants to write about him. I mean, people don't have to read Sarawak Report. And if what I'm writing isn't useful, they won't read it. If what I'm writing is a dubious truth, people won't bother with it. I mean, that's the way it is. So if I'm causing Najib a problem, then he should be wondering, whether it's not, he shouldn't be reforming the issues that I'm writing about. Being racist towards me only just it alerts the rest of the world to something that people living in Malaysia are already well aware of, which is that Najib, who pretends to be, a modern cosmopolitan kind of a leader, actually uses race, religion, and these sorts of issues that should not be divisive. He uses them to divide his country. It's, in a very despicable way.